The opening shot of our film depicts a static shot of a cigarette in an ashtray, with focus of the smoke curls, in order to establish the genre of film noir. The femme fatale of our film is introduced in the second shot, but the over-the-shoulder shot conceals her face. The next shot reveals Robin to the audience with a close-up of her as she speaks to the boss. The fall guy of our film is next to be introduced, as he brings coffee to his boss and looks longingly after Robin as she leaves. The camera then pivots from the coffee cup in order to show Robin walking away. This is the scene in which it is revealed to the audience Robin's involvement in something outside of work that she wants Scott's help with. It opens with a shot of Robin from outside of the phone box, so the dialogue will be muffled. The camera then enters the phone box to Robin as she rings Scott. We plan to have cuts between the shot of Scott in the office and Robin in the phone box in order to convey the conversation to the audience. At the end of the scene, Robin walks out of the phone box, which acts as a transition to their meet-up scene. Scene 3 is the meet-up scene between Robin and Scott, set in a park in Cambridge in the early evening. The first shot depicts a lamppost at a crossroads, which is a strong convention of film noir, as Robin walks towards it. The camera then pans to the front of Robin as Scott walks up behind her, which conveys her importance to the audience. A profile shot of Robin will then be used as she begins to speak to Scott, followed by the camera panning anti-clockwise to depict a double profile shot which will aid the sense of conversation within the scene. It is in this scene that Robin begs Scott for help and asks him to wait at the office for the phone to ring 3 times, which smoothly leads into scene 4. We have chosen to use match-on action between Robin inhaling a cigarette and Scott exhaling in order to strongly link the two scenes together. We wanted to convey a sense of anxiety and waiting within this scene, as Scott is waiting for the call from Robin, so we've used a close-up shot of Scott in order to show this closely. Initially we had planned to use a close-up shot of Scott checking his watch, but on reflection we decided this was too cliché and may not look authentic. We then focus on the phone as it rings with 2 off-kilter shots, followed by a static shot of Scott picking up the briefcase. Scene 5 is a prelude to the handover scene between Scott and the drug dealer, in which Jade warns Scott of the trouble he is in. It opens with an over-the-shoulder shot of Scott in order to establish the bar scene, then quickly jumps to a shot of Scott smoking at the bar. The camera then pans right in order to show Jade entering the shot and sitting down next to Scott, but not acknowledging him. We then plan to use a shot down the bar in order to portray both characters as the dialogue begins. The main dialogue of this scene is Jade advising Scott to get out while he can. The camera then pans to show Kay waiting at a table for Scott. Scene 6 is a handover scene, which is a very crucial scene to our film because it is a scene in which the audience is invited to realise that Scott has been set up by Robin, as the briefcase she said was full of money is empty. We wanted to create a sense of tension and perhaps awkwardness to this scene, so we have chosen to use an array of shots before the dialogue begins, such as shots of Scott drinking and nervously moving his hands. Once the dialogue begins, we plan to possibly use a split screen of over-the-shoulder shots from each character's point of view, followed by a match-on action of the empty briefcase being opened. At the end of the scene, the drug dealer will tell Scott that he has 24 hours to get the money. Then the camera follows Scott as he leaves the bar. This scene depicts Scott searching for a clue as to Robin's address at the office, which he finds in the form of a letter addressed to her, followed by him searching her room for evidence of where she is, and finding a receipt for Eurostar tickets to Paris. We plan to make this scene very frantic and jumpy in order to raise the suspense of the film, so I've chosen to use a range of close-ups such as ones of Robin's documents. At the end of the scene, Scott hears a car pull up outside and then leaves Robin's room. The climactic scene of our noir short depicts the drug dealer Scott met in the bar waiting for him outside Robin's house, and proceeding to tell him to get into the car. The scene opens with a long shot of Scott as he walks out of Robin's front door, and then quickly cuts to a shot of the drug dealer leaning against the car waiting for Scott. We then plan to use distorted shots within the car to give the impression that Scott has been knocked out, followed by an off-kilter shot of Scott on the roadside by a bridge. The film will end with a blackout as the drug dealer punches Scott.